Now at 7, it's a WKYT First Alert Severe Weather Day. We'll look at what storms left damage behind just ahead. For the first time, the Zika virus that's spreading across Latin America and the Caribbean has arrived in the United States from mosquitoes. And a Central Kentucky priest hopes his generous gift will bring someone good fortune. That's ahead on WKYT this morning.
This is WKYT This Morning.
Good morning. Thanks so much for joining us on WKYT. I'm Michelle Chamberlain. Sean Moody is off this morning, and it is a WKYT First Alert Severe Weather Day. We're going to check in with Mike Linden to get the forecast. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Michelle. Flash flooding, easily the #1 concern out of all this. That's what we've seen the past few days, and we will continue to potentially see more of it as we work our way through our weekend. Right now, southeastern Kentucky getting the grunt of the heavy rain and the storms. Harlan County getting hit by most of it, although we are now seeing those storms moving into Whitley County. The city of Williamsburg about to get wet here along the southernmost corridor of I-75 in the Commonwealth. Something to watch out for if you're getting up and heading outside early this morning. We look to Clay County along the Hal Rogers Parkway. We have seen storms just really hustling through this area. These storms are not slow movers, but they will bring quite a bit of rainfall in a short period of time. We look at Magoffin County in the city of Salyersville. Now again, when you start to see the yellows appearing within the greens there, that's essentially the thunderstorms beginning to grow. So heavy rain certainly about to pop up there in the Magoffin County area, and we have seen so much rain over the course of the week. Some spots 4 to 6 inches of it. And of course, if you look at those areas like Madison County, that's where we've seen some pretty big flash flooding. We look to southeastern Kentucky as well. We've seen some flash flooding there too. And guess what? We'll continue to potentially find more of it as we work our way through the weekend. Coming up in about 10 minutes, I'll break down that flash flooding threat, show you where the storms will be. And that's all coming up here in just about 10 minutes, Michelle.
Thank you so much, Mike. So it looks like Madison County was one of the areas hit hard by flash flooding. The county's rescue squad tells us part of Crutcher Pike outside of Richmond was washed out by high water. The water also made parts of nearby Takes Creek Road impassable. WKYT's Mike Byers live in Madison County with a look at what storms left behind. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Michelle. I'm in rural Richmond standing along Tates Creek Road. If you're going to travel this way this morning between Goggins Lane and Carver's Ferry Road, use plenty of caution because there is a lot of debris left in the roadway from last night's flash flooding. The Madison County Rescue Squad says high water still covers part of Crutcher Pike as well this morning. As a result, the road remains shut down near the Tates Creek Road intersection. High water also covered parts of Tates Creek Road between Richmond and Valley View. The rescue squad says as of last night, parts of the roadway were still impassable. They say one man was stranded in his home because of the flooding after high water washed out a bridge between his home and the main road. Now, at last check, the rescue squad says no injuries were reported because of flooding. The big thing here is if you're traveling throughout the day as more rain is expected and you see flash flooding, you see water in the roadway, do not try to pass it. It's not worth your life. Live in Richmond, Mike Byer, WKYT.
Flash floods also covered roads in parts of Montgomery County. Emergency crews had to rescue one person when his car got stuck in high water on Kidville Road. They say they put a vest on him and waded through waist-deep water to get him to safety.
So he was kind of shaken up, weakened from having to be in the water so long, but he just misjudged the water and drove into it and got stranded.
The rescue in Montgomery County is an example of how dangerous flash flooding can be. 6 inches of water will reach the bottom of most cars, and they can float in a foot of water. Water flowing at 7 miles per hour has the same force as air blowing at 200 miles per hour. A car can be swept away in seconds. Remember, we can help you track storms with the WKYT Weather Plus Traffic app. You can download it for free in the app or Google Play stores. New on WKYT this morning, Kentucky State Police have made a second arrest in connection to a double murder in 2 central Kentucky counties. Police arrested Devontae Hall in Montgomery County, Ohio. He's facing a charge of aggravated robbery out of Dayton. He's also being detained there for Kentucky State Police. Police say back in June they found Devin Payton dead in Montgomery County and Brandy Davidson dead in Wolfe County. They say both murders are connected, but they haven't said what led to them. In Whitley County, police have charged a 13-year-old girl after they say she attacked her great-grandmother over an iPad. The Whitley County Sheriff's Office has charged the teenager with assault. Investigators say her great-grandmother tried to take the iPad away from her for the night, but they say the teenager began beating the woman, causing head and neck injuries. Neighbors say the great-grandmother was raising the little girl.
I was really shocked to see that she would disrespect her family like that.
Police say the great-grandmother was taken to UK hospital but has since been released. They say the teenager is at a juvenile detention center. The Zika virus that's spreading across Latin America and the Caribbean has arrived in the United States through infected mosquitoes for the first time. Health officials have identified 4 patients in southern Florida. David McNaud reports from Miami.
10 teams from the Florida Department of Public Health went door to door in a North Miami neighborhood Friday to warn people about the Zika virus and to test them to determine if there are more cases. Florida's governor confirmed Friday 3 men and 1 woman likely contracted the virus through mosquito bites in early July, got sick the next week, and were diagnosed a few days later. Interviews with patients and their friends ruled out travel and sex as a means of transmission. The patients all worked within a 1-mile area called Wynwood. Disease detectives have tested more than 19,000 mosquitoes in the area and stepped up efforts to kill them. Health officials do not expect that this virus is going to become widespread. Instead, they believe we may see small outbreaks, just like the one here in Miami.
We don't have in the continental U.S., in most places, a conducive environment for widespread transmission.
Still, residents and tourists in this artsy area are concerned.
That's really terrible news that it's coming so close to home.
Zika is linked to a birth defect. It causes babies to be born with an abnormally small head. Health officials urge pregnant women and those planning to become pregnant to avoid mosquito bites by wearing long sleeves, using insect repellent, and staying inside. David Begno, CBS News, Miami.
The mosquito species that carries Zika is found in 30 U.S. states. More than 1,600 people in the United States have been infected with the Zika virus, almost all of them while traveling internationally. A Central Kentucky priest hopes his generous gift will bring someone good fortune. Father Jim Chichko brought 100 Powerball tickets and gave them all out to strangers here in the Lexington area. Tonight's Powerball jackpot is $478 million. He says he wanted to do something different to give back to the community.
The ways that I may give, or the ways that I may choose to be kind, may be different from your ways, because we're all different people. And it's all right, to realize that there are some who go outside of the regular box and norms and can still get good things accomplished.
Father Jim also says this is a way for him to give back what he's received from others. So there's plenty of activities going on this weekend. Here's a look at some of what's taking place today. It's time for First Vineyard's annual Summer Craft Fair. The fair will feature woodworkers, jewelry makers, and even cheese crafters. It all starts at 10 o'clock this morning at First Vineyard in Nicholasville. It's free to get in, and there will be food and drinks. Today is the last day for Lexington's Restaurant Week. More than 36 local restaurants are offering special menus at a reduced cost. And this year, $1 of every special meal goes to LexArt. So get out there and enjoy all these wonderful restaurants we have here in Lexington. Your time is 7:08 on this Saturday morning. There's plenty ahead on WKYT. So hitting theaters this weekend is Matt Damon's return to the franchise that made him an action star. A preview of Jason Bourne still ahead on WKYT this morning.
Well, daylight has broken here on Saturday, but we are also seeing heavy rainfall in quite a few spots. It's getting wet in Breathitt County this morning and in quite a few spots in southeastern Kentucky. Coming up, we'll be tracking storms that could lead to flash flooding. It is a WKYT First Alert severe weather day. Flash flooding remains #1 with what we are tracking here this morning and will continue to track into our afternoon. Right now, the storms are scattered over southeastern Kentucky, but let's take a look at what we're finding. Right now, folks in Harlan County getting pretty wet. It's been wet there almost all morning long, and more storms are moving in as they track along the southern border of the Commonwealth. Now the city of Williamsburg and Whitley County starting to get a little wet. wet. When you see these oranges and yellows popping up on the radar, that indicates some strong and heavy rainfall. That's what's going to lead to the potential flash flooding. We look at Clay County moving through Manchester and along the Hal Rogers Parkway, and a short jump to Salyersville. Starting to see thunderstorms bubbling up out of seemingly nothing, but this atmosphere is ripe for thunderstorm development. The key to all of this will be this low pressure system and this stationary front. But what does that exactly mean? A stationary front essentially means we have warm air from the south, cool air from the north, fighting over position. Neither is strong enough to win. So that's why we're seeing these thunderstorms day after day after day. There's just nowhere for them to go as these air masses continue to generate thunderstorms. All week long, we've seen quite a bit of rainfall, a lot of it, in fact, 4 to 6 inches of rainfall. In a couple spots you can see in the reds and in the purples where the rain is a little heavier. But notice Madison County, one of those spots, up near about 5.5 inches of rain all week long. And that's where we saw some flash flooding yesterday. And that's what we'll continue to see this weekend. Flooding remains the biggest threat out of what we will see with the storms all weekend. The potential for some strong winds will certainly be there, but as far as hail and a tornado is concerned, those are very low at this point, if not unlikely for us to see. The flooding is definitely what we will have to keep our eye on here moving forward. So we'll fast forward to noon today. Notice we're still finding some storms out there. The model's really struggling as to where to place these storms because of how moist and humid the atmosphere is. But into the afternoon today, that's where things really explode, where we're finding thunderstorms essentially all over the map, still in southeastern Kentucky. That will have to be an area that we'll have to keep a close eye on, considering that it's raining there now, and it should be raining there later this afternoon as well. Into the evening hours, those storms push toward the southeastern mountains, and then on Sunday we do it all over again. A little more scattered for us on Sunday than what we'll see today, but then again, we do it all over again on Monday, if not with heavier rainfall at that point as well, moving into Monday afternoon and into the early evening hours. Flooding, easily the biggest concern out of all of this here moving forward. Your temperatures will run in the mid-80s, but that's not really what we're keying in on this weekend. It's the flooding. If you happen to live near a smaller creek or a stream, just keep an eye on it all day today. Just peek at it every now and again. And if you happen to drive up to a washed out roadway, don't attempt to drive over it at all. It's just never a good idea. Even if you have a big lifted truck or if you have an SUV with 4-wheel drive, all it takes is 1 foot of water to get underneath your car, lift it up, and wash it away. And you most certainly don't want to be in the car when that happens. Now, as far as driving around a barricade, just don't even do it. Turn around, don't drown. Can't tell you how many times that we have said that, and can't tell you how many times people have not listened to it. Over the course of our weekend, we continue to find additional rounds of thunderstorms. Now, things will really get going later this afternoon, something we'll have to keep an eye on, and then moving into the start of the work week, even more thunderstorms. So, Michelle, it's just like adding water onto an already wet sponge. It just has nowhere to go but onto the roadway. So more flash flooding, certainly something we'll have to watch.
Yeah, and good advice. Even if you're in a big truck, don't try to go through those high waters.
Can't tell you how many times I've come up to a washed out roadway and I see a truck just sitting there and the driver says, "Oh, I tried." Now, that's the key. You tried, didn't succeed.
Got to be safe out there. So sometimes working in a high-tech office comes with some pretty cool perks. That's at least true for Weebly in San Francisco.
Now, Weebly helps build people websites. They have a hidden room in their office. Look at this, right behind a bookshelf. And they
check that out.
They actually, in this hidden room, they play poker, but they say that it's just a creative space to get some work done. That's why they've got a jam room, which has plenty of games. Was that a bar there? and a gym.
Look at this place.
Hey, the perks of working in Silicon Valley. I can at least tell you here at WKYT, we do not have any secret rooms. That would be cool, though, if on the weather wall I had just a secret cabinet or something.
That'd be a pretty cool job being the bartender at that place.
Well, I mean,
they have their own full bar.
They are really blending the lines of work and play by having a bar at work. But even still, they had bourbon, saw that.
They need them to be creative, right?
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Good idea to be creative, right?
There you go.
Okay, so when WKYT This Morning returns, a couple of Hollywood A-listers are returning to the theaters. One is a director and one is a star. We'll take a look at those new movies when we come back. Welcome back to WKYT This Morning. David Daniel has a look at your entertainment headlines this morning.
It's just been hacked. Could be worse than Snowden. Facial recognition got a hit. Jesus Christ, that's Jason Bourne.
Matt Damon returns to the franchise that made him an action star in Jason Bourne. Analysts expect the latest globe-spanning thriller, which co-stars Alicia Vikander and Tommy Lee Jones, to debut with $50 million or more, easily booting Star Trek Beyond out of the top spot.
I'm so tired of trying to be this perfect mom. I'm done.
While mostly men head to Bourne, women figure to favor bad moms. Mila Kunis, Kristen Bell, and Katherine Hahn star as three stressed-out mothers who rebel against expectations. Box office watchers expect the R-rated comedy to roll up around $25 million in its opening weekend.
Watchers pay to watch, players play to win, cash and glory. Are you a watcher or a player? Are you a watcher or a player?
And for the teenagers, there's Nerve, about an online game that's kind of a cross between Truth or Dare and Pokemon Go. It stars Emma Roberts and Dave Franco, and it's projected to gross up to $10 million this weekend. Bruce Springsteen is giving us Chapter and Verse, an audio companion to his upcoming autobiography. The album's 18 tracks trace the boss's musical history, including 5 previously unreleased cuts from the beginning of his career. Chapter and Verse comes out September 23rd, 4 days before his autobiography titled Born to Run.
You are free to run into the hellfire of battle without a single weapon to protect yourself.
Buzz is growing for the World War II drama Hacksaw Ridge, and not just because it's Mel Gibson's first time directing in 10 years. Andrew Garfield stars in the true story of an Army medic who won the Medal of Honor. The movie debuts this fall at the Venice Film Festival and opens in the U.S. November 4th.
Why don't you ever tell me where you live? Where do you go when you aren't with us?
Because what I do with my own personal time is my business, y'all.
You know everything about me, so just tell me something.
It's late, y'all.
And Eddie Murphy is returning to the big screen for the first time in 4 years. In Mr. Church, Murphy plays a man hired to cook for a dying woman and her daughter, played by Tomorrowland's Britt Robertson. The Hollywood Reporter says the indie drama now has a release date. It'll hit theaters September 16th. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
So your time now is 7:22. There's still more to come this morning. Sports is next.
Our WKYT First Alert Severe Weather Day rolls on, and we are still finding active weather over the southeast. Of course, flash flooding remains a major concern moving into our afternoon. Still no reports of it. We haven't seen that much rainfall, but bear in mind, with an already soaked ground, any additional wet weather could certainly lead to some issues. Right now, along the southeastern mountains is where we're finding the heaviest rainfall. Whitley County starting to see those storms now moving out, but if we look just to the east of Williamsburg, we can see that active weather now pushing toward the Barberville area. A little further north along the Howell Rogers Parkway in Clay County, moving into Salyersville and Magoffin County is some of that heavy rain. But remember, things are moving very quickly across southeastern Kentucky this morning, but still bringing quite a bit of rainfall, about 4 to 6 inches of rain in southeastern Kentucky over the course of the week. And it's just been a mess in central and northern Kentucky moving forward here. We will continue to track additional rounds of rainfall, and again, flash flooding continues to be a major concern moving forward. Brian Milan is back in next with sports.
Are the Cats ready to make a move up this fall and go to a bowl game for the first time since 2010? Mark Stoops and his team would like nothing better. Stoops talked about it yesterday at the UK kickoff luncheon, which was held for the first time at Commonwealth Stadium. Stoops has never talked numbers when it comes to wins, but from what he has seen so far, he said his team has given itself the opportunity.
They did what they had to do in the winter, in our fourth quarter program, in spring practice, and we've had a great summer. That's a start to this season. Without that, you have no chance. By doing all those things, doing them as hard as we can, with putting as much into it as we can, it gives us an opportunity. We have an opportunity to go out and compete and play at a high level. I'm not making any predictions, but I like what we've done so far, and we've got a lot of work to do.
The Cincinnati Bengals opening their Cincinnati training camp yesterday. Former EKU tight end Matt Lingle hopeful of winning a spot on the roster. Lingle signed as a free agent with Cincinnati last season, spending his rookie year on the practice squad. He's a big, strong guy the Bengals have high hopes for.
we have high hopes for Matt. You know, we really do. We really have high hopes, and he's one of those guys who you get excited to have the opportunity to play in the preseason and prove that he belongs the opportunity. He deserves an opportunity to stay here.
To high school football, the Paris Greyhounds enjoyed its first undefeated season in decades. Back in at quarterback for the Hounds is Aaron Magger. The senior has started the majority of his 4 years, and he brings with him poise and precision.
Aaron, he started as a freshman for me, so this is his healthy year this year, so I don't think it'll be too much of a load for him because he's played a lot of varsity ball.
I think the game will be a little bit slower for me. Easier to read the defense, and it'll just come more easy to me. Well, I think this year we're going to throw the ball a little bit more. We got a pretty good receiver in Jacoby Wells, and I think we'll just try as hard as we can.
That is all you could ask for. Less than 3 weeks to the start of the season. That's a look at sports. Have a great weekend.
Now at 7:30 on WKYT this morning, it's a WKYT First Alert Severe Weather Day. We'll look at what damaged storms left behind just ahead. Plus, the search for a Clay County man wanted for a string of crimes in eastern Kentucky is still on this morning. And Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are on the campaign trail. We'll have the latest from both campaigns ahead on WKYT this morning.
This is WKYT This Morning.
Good Saturday morning to you. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Michelle Chamberlain. Sean Moody is off this morning, and today it's a WKYT First Alert Severe Weather Day. Let's check in now with Mike Linden, who has a look at your day's forecast. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Michelle. I'm tracking heavy rain right now moving through southeastern Kentucky. And remember, we have just seen so much rain over the course of the week that any additional amount of it, even just a little bit, could lead to some local high water issues. So let's take a look at southeastern Kentucky right now. Harlan County getting the bulk of the wet weather, again tracking right along the southeastern mountains into Virginia and West Virginia. We look at Knox and McCreary County, still pretty wet here in Whitley County as well, moving into Knox County and eastward into the Pineville area. Clay County as well, seeing the showers starting to pick up and get a little heavier. But as you can see, these storms have been just hustling across southeastern Kentucky all morning long. We look toward the Johnson County area. The city of Paintsville also has seen quite a bit of rain this morning. Now more of it beginning to push its way eastward across the southeastern zone. All over the state of Kentucky, though, we have seen so much rainfall, 4 to 6 inches of it over the zones that we are watching and have been all morning. So that could lead to some developments, we should say, into the afternoon. Central Kentucky looks like a mess, and western Kentucky looks like a paint by number with all those colors and very high rainfall totals. So we will continue to track flooding as we work our way through the weekend here, because that remains the #1 concern here over Saturday and Sunday. Coming up, I'll take you hour by hour, show you where those storms will be and what impacts they might bring.
Thanks so much, Mike. So it looks like Madison County was one of the areas hit hard by flash flooding. The county's rescue squad tells us part of Crutcher Pike outside of Richmond was washed out by high water. The water also made parts of nearby Takes Creek Road impassable. WKYT's Mike Byers live in Madison County this morning with a look at what storms left behind. Good morning, Mike.
Michelle. Tates Creek Road in Madison County has a lot of debris left on it from last night's flash flooding. If you're going to travel this way between Goggins Lane and Carver's Ferry Road, use plenty of caution. The Madison County Rescue Squad says high water still covers parts of Crutcher Pike this morning. As a result, the road remains shut down near the Tates Creek Road intersection. High water also covered parts of Tates Creek Road between Richmond and Valley View. The rescue squad says as of last night, parts of the roadway were still impassable. They say one man was stranded in his home because of the flooding after high water washed out a bridge between his home and the main road. With more rain in the forecast today, if you're traveling and stumble upon flash flooding or water in the roadway, do not try to pass through it.
We don't drive through running water or moving water, and good lesson for the kids to see, because they say there's a refrigerator at the bottom of my driveway right now in the creek at Crutcher Creek, and the road is totally crumbled.
Now, at last check, the rescue squad says no injuries were reported due to the flooding. Live in Madison County, Mike Byer, WKYT.
Also new this morning, officers in Whitley County say a body has been found. The sheriff department says the body was found in the Bee Creek area yesterday. They think the remains are female and have sent them to Frankfort for an autopsy. Police are still trying to track down a man accused of going on a crime spree in 4 eastern Kentucky counties. The Clay County Sheriff says the search for Tim Lawson started with a probation violation. Since then, the sheriff says Lawson has stolen nearly a dozen cars, amongst other crimes. During one of those thefts, a witness tells us his mom shot her gun at Lawson several times, but Lawson grabbed the gun away from her.
He held her at gunpoint and asked us for her keys, food, and pop, and not to call the law, and that he'll leave.
Investigators say Lawson is armed with guns, and they think he's committing crimes to feed a drug addiction. While they think he's acting alone, they say people may be giving him rides and helping him out along the way. New this morning, we're hearing from Tim Lawson's family in Clay County, and they're talking about the manhunt for Lawson. They say the last week has been a nightmare for them. Lawson's mother says she feels so sorry for the people he has robbed, and she wants to see him caught as soon as possible.
I want to see it behind bars because then he might be able to come back to his right mind off the drugs.
I'd rather go see him in a jail cell than go to a funeral home and look down at him.
Police say if you see Lawson, do not approach him, but call 911 immediately. They say he is armed and dangerous. After giving her acceptance speech at the Democratic National Convention, Hillary Clinton went back on the campaign trail with running mate Tim Kaine. But Donald Trump says he was not impressed with Clinton's speech. Weijia Jiang has the latest from both campaigns.
Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton and running mate Tim Kaine hit the road Friday, kicking off a 3-day tour in the Rust Belt, promising to create and keep jobs in the United States.
We're going to make big investments in infrastructure, advanced manufacturing, clean energy technology.
Clinton also took a swipe at her Republican rival, Donald Trump.
The only thing he makes in America are bankruptcies.
Late Friday, Clinton's camp confirmed a computer system used by the campaign was hacked in the larger breach targeting the Democratic National Committee. Clinton and Kaine are energized after the Democratic National Convention that ended Thursday here in Philadelphia, which drew more overall viewers than the Republican convention the week before. But Trump bragged to an audience in Colorado Springs that television ratings show more people watched his acceptance speech than Clinton's. He offered his own rating on that.
I watched her last night giving a speech that was so average.
A seemingly scattered Trump jumped from topic to topic, but made one thing clear.
Just remember this, Trump is going to be no more Mr. Nice Guy.
The candidates have 100 days to win over voters before the election. Weijia Jiang, CBS News, Philadelphia.
So we have some good news to pass along this morning. A Central Kentucky woman injured in a cycling accident in France is slowly improving. In a Facebook post, former state auditor Bob Babbage says his wife Laura has gone from unconscious to conscious. Doctors will do more analysis of Laura's injury this weekend and next week. Your time now is 7:38 on this Saturday morning. Plenty of people are heading to the water and trying to cool off in the summer heat. We'll take a look at some ways to help your little ones stay safe near the water ahead on WKYT this morning.
And we are seeing some water of a different kind here in the Commonwealth, falling from the skies and creating some issues here at the surface. Coming up, I'll break down the flash flooding threat here on this WKYT First Alert Severe Weather Day. Back, our WKYT First Alert Severe Weather Day rolls on with flash flooding as the #1 concern here moving through the weekend. We look at southeastern Kentucky. That's where we have continued to see the heavy rainfall this morning, and more of it is on the way. Now starting to butt up against the southeastern mountains and work its way into Virginia and West Virginia, but nonetheless, we're still seeing rain in the spots that have seen rain all morning long. We look at Whitley and Knox counties. A little wet now, pushing into Knox County, into the Barberville area. We look a little bit further north, close to Leslie County and northward into Magoffin County and Johnson counties. That's where we have continued to find the wet weather all morning long, and that's what you need for flash flooding. You need a wet ground and then more rain on top of it. And we have seen that all week long for the spots seeing the wet weather right now. About 4 to 6 inches of total rainfall over the course of the week. A wet end to the month of July. July, to say the least. Central Kentucky picking up some pretty impressive numbers, and over in western Kentucky, 6 inches plus of wet weather. I mean, it looks like a paint-by number here across the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and we will add to those totals. We'll take a look at that in just a moment. Now, as far as the severe impact out of what we'll find this weekend, flooding is easily the top of the heap. Tornadoes and hail, those are really low on the scale, if not unlikely, out of these thunderstorms. High winds, though, a little more of a chance compared to the hail and the tornadoes. Let's also not forget that with a wet ground and even just a gust of strong wind, there are reports of some downbursts over western Kentucky. That could bring down some trees. We will have to keep an eye on that, though, moving forward the rest of our day. This is your hour-by-hour forecast. We'll fast forward to noon today. Just a bit of a break from the morning hours up until this point, but with a very wet and humid atmosphere, these storms can pop up like that, and that's what's going to happen as we head into our afternoon today. The models have really struggled to place these storms simply because of how humid it is, so that's why you're seeing this scattered nature of the storms across the bluegrass. We'll continue to find that into our evening hours, and then into Sunday, we'll do it all over again. Once again, though, these models really struggling to pinpoint the location of these storms, but regardless, if you live in Kentucky, more than likely you're going to see some form of rain. Getting a little heavier, though, as we head into our Monday. That looks like the most likely day to add a large amount of rainfall, especially in central Kentucky, as we work our way into the afternoon and evening hours. So from today through Monday, our rain totals could get upwards of about 1 inch to potentially even 2 inches. And notice on this map here, near Laurel County, near Harlan County, and even in Lexington and Madison County, 1 inch to 1.5 inches on top of 5 and even 6 inches of rain that we've seen over the course of the week. These are the ingredients what you need for flash flooding. Think about squeezing a sponge underwater and then adding more wet rain to it. It's just not going to soak it up. And that means it's going to end up on the roadways. And again, do not attempt to drive through a flooded road. It's not a good idea. If you see a barricade, turn around. Don't drown. That should be the mantra. Repeat that to yourself over the course of the weekend. Just don't chance it. Over the course of our weekend, continuing to see additional rounds of showers and storms. The heavy rain likely at times. This won't be an all-day event, Michelle, but that's another ingredient what you need for flash flooding. A lot of rain in a short period of time, and that is essentially the setup that we will be under all weekend long.
You got to be careful out there, and I know it's raining here, but it is that time of year when we get a lot of hot temperatures, and families are heading to the pool and to the beach on their family vacations.
Yeah, but fun times can quickly turn tragic when water is involved. Marley Hall has a look at one way to keep your little one safe.
When 9-month-old Erin Terry fell into this pool, her parents could not have been happier. That's because just seconds later, she floated to the surface and began to swim.
She's a kicker and a mover.
Even in a snowsuit. It's all part of her training with certified aquatic survival instructor Dina Blum-Rothman.
Accidents happen, and we want to arm children with the ability to save themselves.
She says all it takes is a month of lessons for a child to learn to survive in water. Her youngest students are just 6 months old.
We're really rewarding something correct. And they start realizing, ooh, she liked when I did that. And all of a sudden, in a few weeks, we've got a swimmer.
According to child safety advocacy group Safe Kids Worldwide, drowning is the 3rd leading cause of death among children under the age of 1.
Blum-Rothman says kids can drown in seconds despite adult supervision.
Things happen. You blink. You're distracted. You don't realize that the gate was open.
That's why demand for her services keeps growing. But it can sometimes be hard for parents to watch their kids go under, even in a controlled setting.
If you're nervous as a parent, get over it, because these are your kids' lives.
For the kids, it's just another day at the pool.
She loves it. She loves the water, and she's always jumping in and splashing, and it's a good time.
Marley Hall, CBS News, Milford, Connecticut.
That's so amazing. Look at that little 6-month-old baby.
Either the next Missy Franklin or Michael Phelps before our very eyes, learning how to swim at a young age.
But it really
6 months.
is good for them to know.
Hey, most definitely good to know how to swim.
Okay, your time is 7:47. We'll have more news when we come back.
Good morning. I'm Bill Bryant. Hoping you're enjoying your weekend. U.S. Senator Mitch McConnell's autobiography, The Long Game, is on the bookshelves now. He tells the story of growing up somewhat shy and then rising to the position of U.S. Senate Majority Leader. He also talks about how his mother worked hard at a very young age to help him overcome a battle with polio.
We were fortunate to be about an hour's drive from Warm Springs, Georgia, where Franklin Roosevelt had set up a polio treatment center. They taught my mother how to do these physical therapy regimens, and here's what they told her: keep him off his feet. Can you imagine watching a 2-year-old? This went on for 2 years.
Yeah.
Watching a 2-year-old between the ages of 2 and 4 and keeping off his feet.
And you're watching other kids play.
Yeah.
Have a good time.
I mean, she was a drill sergeant, and but for her tenacity, I probably would have had a very different kind of childhood and maybe different aspirations. But an early lesson that if you really work at something, the chances are pretty good you may get there.
And so you did that, and you lay out how in baseball you became a pretty good baseball player. Few people probably know that who are out there. But then politics called early. You moved around. You moved first over to Georgia to...
Yeah, we went from Alabama to Georgia, and then up to Kentucky at 13. I'll tell you how baseball intersected with politics. Yeah. I was beginning to feel a little full of myself, thinking I was pretty good. I was a pitcher, and we went in to play the City All-Stars. And I looked around. They were bigger than we were. They had better uniforms and a nicer field, and by the time I got in to pitch the second half of the game, I was not exactly calm. So I walked the first batter, the second batter, the third batter, the fourth batter, 1 run in. I said to myself, you know you can get the ball over. I did, and it went straight over the fence. So it became pretty clear to me after that humbling experience that maybe I needed to go in a different direction. And so it became, you know, a different kind of competition, running for office.
You had this bully who picked on you,
yeah.
and you name him by name in the book. And your dad told you to go over
and that was another lesson about standing up to bullies. Yeah, I was out playing in the yard with Dickie McGrew, who lived across the street. He was a year older and a lot bigger than I was, and he was always pushing me around. And my dad, who was a pretty tough guy, who managed to survive some pretty harrowing experiences in World War II, had been watching all of this, and he found it pretty embarrassing. And so he called me over one day, and he said, son, I want you to go over there and beat up Dickie McGrew. And I said, Dad, he's bigger than I am, he's older than I am. And Dad said, I'm bigger than he is and older than he is. So with little hope of success, I walked across the street. I beat up Dickie McGrew, and I bent his glasses, and we never had another problem. And that was an important lesson, too, because standing up to bullies has been, you know, a helpful lesson for me throughout my life.
You end up in Louisville, where your dad took a job, and you're at a high school. You don't know anybody. You hear a speech from an upperclassman, and he impressed you. And you said then and there you want to be like him, or at least you wanted to.
Well, he was the president of the student body, and I thought to myself, even though I don't know anybody, that would be a really terrific thing to do. So,
and your mom, again, stepped in and said you could do
well,
it.
Maybe you could do that someday.
Now, we also talk about the presidential campaign and how Congress left Washington for the summer recess with no deal to fight the Zika virus. You can see the full interview with Senator McConnell tomorrow morning at 6 on WKYT and tomorrow at 10 a.m. on the CW Lexington. Set your DVR or catch it one of those times. I'm Bill Bryant. We'll be right back on WKYT This Morning.
Good morning. Welcome back to WKYT This Morning. It's that time of year again. Time to go back to school.
Already.
Can you believe it? Back to school rallies are going on across Lexington today.
Registration starts at 9 this morning. Backpacks will be given out at noon, but then there's a pool party at Douglas Park from 1 to 4 this afternoon. We've got the list of rally locations on our website, WKYT.com.
Should be lots of fun, and you can help the University of Kentucky Police Department raise money for the Special Olympics Kentucky. It's happening today. Officers are hosting Cops on Donut Shops at the Krispy Kreme on Richmond Road. You know what? They are actually on top of the roof. Mike Lennon told me he was there last year. Should be interesting, and they're there till 11 o'clock this morning.
It is most definitely cops on top of the building, but for those cops on top of the building, or if you're outside in general today, an umbrella is certainly a good idea. And you certainly, if you live near a smaller creek or stream, to keep an eye on it. Flash flooding becomes a major problem once again this afternoon, and local high water issues as well. We're looking at thunderstorms, which should bring heavy rain on and off throughout our day today. So all week long it's been flash flooding. More of the same this weekend.
So be careful out there and have a great day, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us on WKYT.